All right, when graphing our quadratics, we care about three important points. We want to know where it starts, the highest or lowest point, where it turns, and where it stops. Well, technically, our quadratic goes on forever, but the important parts are where it hits the ground, or starting and stopping points. We know that a graph hits the ground at y is equal to 0, ground 0, and then we can find our x values. We've done this using a t-chart. We found our line of symmetry using negative b over 2a. We plugged it in, we got a vertex, we plotted some points around it with the t-chart. We don't want to do that. We just want to be able to find our critical points, and we can do that by factoring, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take our quadratic equation and we're going to change this y equal to 0 because we know the x-intercepts are where it hits the ground and the ground is where y is equal to 0. So we're going to change this to x squared minus 6x plus x8 equals 0. Now we're going to factor this. So we're going to take our c value and put it here, our negative 6 here. We're looking for two numbers that we multiply together to get positive 8 and add together to get negative 6. And that would be negative 4 and negative 2. So our factors are x minus 4 times x minus 2 is equal to 0. These are just our factors now. Now what we're looking for is the values that make either this or this equal to 0. We know that we're multiplying two factors together to equal 0, so one of these things has to be equal to 0. So what you're asking yourself is, what value am I putting in here to make this statement true, to make it equal to 0? All right, so what value am I going to put in here? Well, if I solve this, I'm going to find that x is equal to 4. And that makes sense because 4 minus 4 equals 0. Same thing over here, the value I would put in here would be a positive 2. So that means that my roots, my zeros, my x-intercepts are positive 4 and negative 2. That means if I was going to graph this, I know that it starts and stops at the ground right there. Now I know that my roots are evenly spaced from the center, which is also where my vertex is, just like your eyes are evenly spaced from your nose, so I don't have to use the equation now for line of symmetry. I just need to follow in to find the center of those 2 points, and I can find out that its x is equal to positive 3. There's my line of symmetry. Now we know that the vertex is on the line of symmetry, so I go back, take my original equation, substitute in my 3, and now I can find out my y value for my vertex. So I get 3 squared is 9, negative 6 times 3 is negative 18, plus 8. Going in order, I have negative 9 plus 8, and that means my y value is negative 1. Now that makes sense too, because I knew that this was going to open up, so I knew that my vertex had to be somewhere down there. And at this point, I just get to eyeball the rest. The bonus is, we also know the y-intercept right here is going to be 8, somewhere up here, and then I can reflect this point over here, and I can draw a fairly accurate sketch of that quadratic. No need to use equations, just factor, find the roots, find your line of symmetry, and plug that value back in. And remember, you know you love math.